Yeah, maybe. I love the sound of children. I'm going to use an image that I'm not always comfortable with because I have so little skill in this world of music. So, Debbie, if this is not a proper analogy, let me know, okay? When I think of symphony, I just think of many different musical instruments all playing their part, sort of weaving in and out. If I could use like a physically, if I could see it, almost like bands of light that kind of weave around and intermesh with each other, creating the one sound. Is that fair?
That's close.
All right. I mean, my knowledge of music could fit into a thimble, okay? And the reason I bring this up is because that's really what I just read to you. A series of messages of teachings, an experience of Jesus, not just for the people sitting in front of him, but for us who listen to Mark's memories so many, many centuries later. It's many different themes hitting us all at the same time, one after another after another. And I ask you to think about it and then take it home with you afterwards, okay? So the first thing, probably there isn't anyone in this room who hasn't had the experience of saying something to someone and you know they absolutely do not get what you're saying. That totally, now Dad, come on, be nice to the kids, all right? They just, over their head, nothing, okay? We've all done it, we've all had it happen to us. And yet there's the second experience of the people that, as you're saying it to them, you know they're not getting it. And it's not that they don't know that they're not getting it. They know they're not getting it, but they're either afraid or ashamed or embarrassed to ask about it because they don't want to look bad in front of whoever else is there, whether it be their peers or their superiors or whoever. So you have that secondary type of thing. I say it, you don't get it, you don't even get it. I say it, you don't get it, you don't want to admit it. And there's the third group. I say it, you get it, I don't care. You know, I'm going to do what I want anyway. All of that kind of crisscrossing, those bands of light, part of this experience Jesus is having. He is talking about something important and they don't want to hear what he's saying. Much like very often we don't want to hear what he's saying because the human experience is so similar. He starts talking to them about the road to redemption is not going to be easy. And the road to redemption is something that is going to have a great cost. And if you want to be my follower, if you want to walk with me, then understand that what I may ask of you is going to make you uncomfortable. It may even cost you more than you could imagine. And yet what I offer you is something wonderful. And they don't get it. They get the hint of the fact that whatever he's talking about is not happy news. And they're smart enough to know whatever he's talking about, I don't want it to be a part of it. It's kind of like, I can now say this because I had the experience a year ago. You know when that doctor calls you back after your test and say, I want you to come in, I'm not going to tell you on the phone, and you know deep inside what you're about to hear is not good news, okay? That's the experience. It's kind of like they're hearing, well, he's talking about something. Look, Jesus, go down to Jerusalem, do that redemption stuff, and call me when it's over. Don't let me be a part of it now. There's so much us. They're so human. And yet, he says to them, don't you understand? What I'm offering you is something so important. So what do? Block them out, don't want to hear it, and then they start doing what people normally do. Instead of dealing with the issue at hand, start arguing about something else. Make something else the issue we deal with so we don't have to deal with the issue we don't want to deal with. That's what people do and that's what they do. And he says to them when they get to their end point, what were you guys fighting about? And there is this dead silence. Okay? Any of you ever had in a family where kids fighting amongst each other over something and you say, what's going on? And it's this dead silence. And Sharon, don't count for you. You only have Logan. And Logan is perfect, so don't tell me that. He doesn't. Yeah. No, have you been in that experience? Where all of a sudden it's just, they don't want to deal with it because they're ashamed to admit what they're talking about. And here's the secondary theme running through these readings, this crisscross that we're asked to think about. Always the reminder that if we journey with Christ, he journeys with us. You're never alone. So every time you open your mouth, or I open my mouth, keep in mind, the Lord does hear me. You know, I start the liturgy, the Lord be with you. Okay? Point is, the risen Christ is with you. Everything we do in his presence. Everything we say in his presence. It's like the grandma rule. Would you say it if your grandma was listening? Would you use that mouth in that way? You tell them. Okay, exactly my point. So theme number 1, people don't listen, and they sometimes just don't want to hear the news when it's challenging. Theme number 2, let's take a secondary role and deal with something else and then get embarrassed about it. And then theme number 3, puts them all together, takes a child, and he says, look, now you have to understand. The beauty of the moment, and we miss it, unfortunately, when you study the scriptures and you study the language that Mark writes in, interesting little tidbit. The word for child and the word for slave is the exact same word. You can only know the difference from the context of what you're reading. It's the same word. And in the culture of that time, a child and a slave had the same lack of standing. They had no rights, they had no abilities, nothing. A child was totally dependent on its parent. A slave is totally dependent on its master. The parent had power of life and death over the child. Same with the master and slave. It's exactly the same thing. Jesus takes a child and he makes the point, not because children are so wonderful and perfect, except for Logan and Francesca, but the rest of those children are not. Right, Bill? Yeah. Yeah. I'm always wondering which way the elbows are going to go, you know. But the point is, he takes the child to make the point that as we stand before God, we are totally helpless, we are totally dependent. And if we want to be followers of Christ, to treat each other with the respect that we want to love each other, serve each other, and understand where power really lies. It doesn't lie in the fact of, I treat you in the way that as long as you make me feel good, as long as you do things for me, I will be kind to you, I will love you, I will serve you. No, we serve those who even are like children in our lives. They have no power, they can't serve us back, they can't help us, and yet we still call to love them and serve them. Greatness has nothing to do with physical ability or height or intelligence or wisdom, as James wrote. Greatness is receiving God's grace, turning it into the way we live, loving each other, serving each other, even the person who can't love or serve you back, even the person who doesn't want to love or serve you back, even the person who understands what you're doing for them is good and they don't care. So these are the various themes that are crisscrossing and running through that little passage I read you. What it's really like to be a disciple? Learning to listen. Really listening. Learning to want to serve. Wanting to serve. And truly wanting to love. That's what discipleship is about. And it's not always easy. I can't promise you joy all the time. All the Lord can promise us. Walk with Him. He remains with us forever. And more importantly, after death, we remain with Him forever.